Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. Terry McLaurin, the Washington Commanders, undisputed top wide receiver, finds himself in the eye of a growing storm that threatens to cast a long shadow over the team's preparations for the upcoming NFL season. The headlines are relentless. Trade rumors swirl, speculation mounts, and public opinion shifts by the hour as the once reliable playmaker enters the murky waters of a contract standoff that feels more personal than professional. The man who has been a steady presence in an inconsistent offense has now become the central figure in a very public dispute over money, legacy, and value. His trade request has shaken the team's fan base to its core, even though the front office has shown no signs of acquiescing. It's not just a disagreement over numbers, it's a philosophical tug-of-war between an aging star looking for security and a franchise trying to build a future. Despite everything, the Commanders have not moved an inch. That's not to say McLaurin has made it easy. Advised by his agent, he's played nearly every card in the deck short of sitting out the season altogether. From skipping OTAs to going dark on social media, his message has been clear. Pay me what I'm worth or let me walk. But now, some voices in the media are accusing him of overplaying his hand, suggesting that his calculated moves may be doing more harm than good. Not only to his reputation, but also to the leverage he once thought he had. The narrative surrounding McLaurin's future has taken on a life of its own. Commentators like Stephen A. Smith have weighed in, offering opinions that swing from sympathy to skepticism. Smith, speaking on ESPN, acknowledged McLaurin's talent, highlighting his string of 1,000-yard seasons and leadership, but questioned the wisdom of demanding $30 million per year, especially when the market may not support that valuation. According to Smith's sources, the Commanders are already on the table with a $27 million offer, which by NFL standards is hardly an insult. The problem is that McLaurin and his camp are drawing a hard line at $30 million or more, a figure only the elite of the elite command, typically younger and with less tread on the tires. McLaurin's 30th birthday looms in September, and by the time any new contract actually begins, he'll be 31. That timeline is not lost on general manager Adam Peters, who, despite admiring McLaurin's consistent production, understands the league's brutal economics. Wide receivers tend to decline in their early 30s, and locking in a long-term deal now carries significant risk. It's a cold reality, but one that franchises have to consider before committing to massive financial obligations. That's not to say McLaurin doesn't deserve to get paid. He absolutely does. He's been the epitome of professionalism since entering the league as a third-round pick out of Ohio State. He's played through quarterback chaos, coaching changes, and offensive ineptitude, and yet he's produced year after year. His route running, toughness, and leadership in the locker room are invaluable traits that can't be measured by a stat sheet alone. But the NFL is not a fairy tale league. It's a ruthless business where timing is everything. And right now, McLaurin may have picked the wrong moment to draw a line in the sand. The Commanders aren't desperate. They have a new coaching regime under Dan Quinn, a revamped front office with Peters at the helm, and a fan base cautiously optimistic about the team's direction. From their perspective, giving in to McLaurin's demands could set a dangerous precedent, especially when there are younger players on the roster who will soon be due for their own paydays. It's a delicate balancing act, and so far, the Commanders have shown zero signs of blinking first. Dan Quinn has been noticeably quiet on the matter, choosing to sidestep the topic in press conferences. And who can blame him? As a head coach, getting involved in contract disputes isn't in his job description. It's about managing the locker room, preparing for games, and maintaining order. Talking about another man's money is always a slippery slope in the NFL, and Quinn knows that. What matters to him is that when or if McLaurin returns, he's ready to contribute. According to sources close to the team, there's still a belief that this will all blow over, that McLaurin will eventually sign a revised deal and return to the fold. But until that happens, the specter of this contract standoff will hover over training camp like a cloud And while the team insists it's business as usual, anyone who's been around the NFL long enough knows that these kinds of unresolved issues can fracture a locker room, especially if teammates start taking sides or morale begins to slip. From McLaurin's vantage point, the pressure is mounting. He's played the loyal soldier card for years. He's outperformed his rookie contract, stayed out of off-field trouble, and represented the Commanders with class. Now he wants his due, and not just in the short term. He wants the kind of deal that sets him and his family up for life. The kind of deal that reflects his value to the team, not just as a player, but as a symbol of stability in a chaotic organization. The problem is that his timing is off. With younger wideouts flooding the draft and free agency markets offering cheaper alternatives, McLaurin isn't operating in a seller's market. His age, fair or not, is a glaring red flag for executives who are paid to think with their heads, not their hearts. So while McLaurin sees himself as a $30 million a year player, the rest of the league might not agree. And that's a tough pill to swallow for someone who's given everything to one team. And yet even now, McLaurin would draw interest if the Commanders decided to shop him around. There's no shortage of teams that could use a reliable, productive wide receiver with elite character and leadership skills. The catch, of course, is the price tag. Any trade partner would need to be willing not only to part with draft capital, potentially a high pick, but also to meet McLaurin's contractual demands. That's a tall order, especially for a player entering his 30s. The compensation would likely be lower than what Commanders fans might expect, and Peters knows that. He's not about to give away his best offensive weapon for pennies on the dollar, even if things get ugly. That's why a trade, while not impossible, remains highly unlikely unless McLaurin forces their hand with something dramatic, like a full season holdout, which would be costly for both sides. If we're being honest, this whole saga is avoidable. There's a compromise to be had here. A deal in the range of $20 to $30 million per year with some creative structuring and guaranteed money could easily bridge the gap. But for that to happen, both parties need to let go of their egos. McLaurin needs to recognize that while he's incredibly valuable, he's also facing the realities of age and positional wear and tear. The Commanders, meanwhile, need to understand that letting this situation fester could alienate one of the most respected players in franchise history and derail whatever momentum they're trying to build under the new regime. Public opinion is already beginning to fracture, with fans torn between loyalty to McLaurin and support for the team's long-term vision. Every day that passes without a resolution adds another layer of tension. And that's not good for anyone. In the end, what's most frustrating is that both sides want the same thing: for Terry McLaurin to stay in Washington. He wants to retire. As a Commander, the team wants him to be part of their next playoff run. The disconnect lies entirely in the details. It's about guaranteed money, contract length, and how much risk each side is willing to assume. And unless someone gives in, we're headed for a prolonged stalemate. It would be a shame to see this relationship end over a few $1 million, especially when McLaurin has done nothing but elevate the franchise since arriving. But as with all things NFL, emotions and business rarely coexist peacefully. Right. Now the ball is in Washington's court, but McLaurin is watching closely, and his patience, once seemingly infinite, appears to be wearing thin. Whether this contract dispute ends in reconciliation or rupture will shape the narrative of the Commanders 2025 season. If McLaurin returns happy and healthy, ready to go, the team's offensive outlook improves dramatically. If not, they'll be scrambling for answers and possibly explaining to fans why they let their most reliable weapon walk. No one wants that. Not Dan Quinn, not Adam Peters, and certainly not the fan base, which has seen more than its fair share of dysfunction. The next few weeks will be crucial. A deal could come together quickly, or it could drag on into the season. What's clear is that the clock is ticking. Every practice missed, every headline written, and every whisper in the locker room adds to the pressure. McLaurin's legacy in Washington may ultimately be defined not just by the yards he gained, but by how this standoff ends. One way or another, a chapter is closing. The question is, will it be triumphant or tragic? If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats because what we're hearing from the NFL rumor mill is nothing short of mind-blowing. If the whispers around Ashburn are even remotely true, then Jayden Daniels, the electric young quarterback who lit up college football and was taken by the Washington Commanders with the number 2 pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, has just pulled off a move that might reshape the future of this franchise and the league. Sources close to the team, who prefer to remain anonymous, are hinting that Daniels has agreed to a jaw-dropping contract extension worth a staggering $550 million. Yes, you heard that right. 550 million Brazilian reais, which roughly translates to over 100 million US dollars annually. But here's the kicker. This isn't just a short-term grab-the-bag deal. No, folks. According to what's being whispered in closed circles and front office corridors, this deal locks Jayden Daniels in Washington until 2031. That's 7 full seasons of commitment, stability, and maybe, just maybe, a renaissance in DC football. But is this really happening? Or are we watching a carefully orchestrated PR maneuver designed to create buzz around a franchise desperate to be relevant again? Let's unpack what we know and what could be behind this bombshell extension rumor. Now, for those of you asking why a franchise like Washington would commit so heavily and so early to a quarterback who hasn't even played a regular season down yet, well, you're not alone. The NFL world is scratching its collective head. But when you really think about it, this potential move might be less crazy than it seems at first glance. Jayden Daniels isn't just your run-of-the-mill rookie QB. He's the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, a dual-threat nightmare for defenses, and the kind of charismatic leader a struggling franchise can rally around. And let's not forget, Washington has been desperate for a face of the franchise ever since the RG3 era fizzled out prematurely. With a new ownership group, a refreshed coaching staff, and a fan base hungry for relevance, this could be a massive power play to show belief, vision, and most importantly, faith in their future. But still, $550 million, that's a jaw dropper. Are the Commanders really that convinced Daniels is the guy? Or is this some wild strategic bet hoping to get ahead of the inevitable quarterback salary inflation that's already spiraling out of control? Insiders around the league are reportedly stunned. Other GMs are quietly whispering that if this rumor is true, it could completely redefine how rookie contracts and extensions are handled moving forward. Usually, teams wait at least a couple of seasons before locking up a young quarterback, using the rookie wage scale to their advantage while building around him. But if Daniels is indeed signing an extension before even taking a single NFL snap, it signals a tectonic shift in how the quarterback position is being valued. One former exec went so far as to say that this could be Patrick Mahomes level commitment before Patrick Mahomes level proof. Of course, we don't know if all the details are true. This could be preliminary talks, early frameworks, or just smoke to light up the offseason chatter. But make no mistake, if there's even a kernel of truth in this $550 million extension story, Washington is all in. No half measures, no waiting period. They're staking their future, their brand, and their ownership legacy on a 23-year-old kid who hasn't yet faced an NFL blitz. And what does this mean for Daniels himself? Well, let's be real. If you're Jayden, this is the dream scenario. You're getting generational wealth, early security, and total trust from a franchise with a national spotlight and a top 10 media market. But with that kind of payday comes immense pressure. Daniels would not only have to live up to the hype, he'd have to exceed it. Fans would expect immediate returns, highlight reel performances, and playoff pushes sooner rather than later. And in a city like Washington, where political drama meets sports desperation, the microscope is unforgiving. Every throw, every decision, every press conference will be dissected, debated, and possibly criticized. Still, Jayden has shown a unique poise throughout his college career. From Arizona State to LSU, he handled adversity, adjusted systems, and matured into one of the most complete quarterbacks in the country. If anyone's equipped to handle this kind of pressure cooker, it might just be him. But again, if this extension is real, if that pen hit the paper, it's not just a contract. It's a declaration of war on mediocrity. What about the Commanders' long-suffering fan base? Reaction across social media has been mixed. Some are celebrating the boldness, others are deeply skeptical. After all, Washington hasn't had sustained success in decades, and some fans are understandably cautious about declaring victory before training camp even wraps. Yet, there's an undeniable buzz returning to the DMV. Fans who had tuned out are now tuning back in. Jerseys are selling, ticket interest is spiking, and local sports radio is on fire. If this extension rumor gains any more traction, it could bring a level of excitement to the franchise not seen since Joe Gibbs stalked the sidelines. It's worth noting that this sort of financial commitment, especially from a team in a rebuilding phase, also signals something deeper. Culture change. New ownership under Josh Harris has been vocal about building the right locker room, investing in player development, and doing things differently. Throwing this kind of money at Daniels, if true, screams, we're serious now. But how is this even possible under the salary cap? That's the question agents and capologists around the league are reportedly scrambling to answer. Could this deal be front-loaded? Is there some wild void year manipulation happening? Could cryptocurrency or foreign revenue be in play, given the odd denomination? We know NFL teams are getting more creative every year with structuring deals, but this would be next-level genius or recklessness depending on how you see it. There's also speculation that this extension might be tied to performance escalators, bonuses, or team option years that give the Commanders some flexibility down the line. Still, the $550 million figure is what's grabbing headlines. And it's no accident. Even if the number is inflated or stylized for media impact, it serves a purpose, letting everyone know that Washington is ready to spend big, think big, and act big. Whether that's smart or suicidal, time will tell. Coaches, of course, are staying quiet, offering up the standard we're focused on football cliches when asked. But behind the scenes, there's likely a lot of excitement and anxiety. Eric Bieniemy, if he remains on staff, now has the unenviable task of turning this ultra-talented rookie into a day-one star. Every practice snap, every preseason rep becomes part of a larger narrative about whether or not this rumored deal was a genius move or a catastrophic misfire. The locker room dynamic also shifts dramatically. How do veterans feel about a rookie instantly becoming the highest paid player on the team? Are there chemistry risks, leadership questions? These are not minor concerns. Teams have fractured over far less. But again, if Jayden Daniels really is the leader everyone says he is, if he's that guy, then this deal might unify, not divide. It might raise the standard and expectations in a way Washington hasn't seen in years. Meanwhile, other teams are definitely taking notes. If the Commanders have found a way to secure their franchise quarterback before the price tag explodes, other front offices will surely study the blueprint. Imagine the ripple effect. Young quarterbacks like Caleb Williams, Drake May, or even veterans like Trevor Lawrence could use this deal as leverage in their own negotiations. The NFL is a copycat league, and this kind of bold, aggressive move, if confirmed, could change the way teams think about quarterback value forever. Already, rumors are swirling that agents are calling their teams, asking, have you seen what Washington's doing? That kind of league-wide buzz doesn't happen unless there's smoke behind the fire. Whether it's strategic posturing or a real financial commitment, Washington just changed the conversation. And lastly, let's talk legacy. If this extension becomes reality and Jayden Daniels lives up to even half the hype, we might be witnessing the birth of a new era in NFL history. A bold franchise move, a transformative player, a massive gamble that pays off. On the flip side, if things go south, if Daniel struggles, if injuries occur, if the team fails to build around him, this could go down as one of the most disastrous contracts in sports history. That's the razor's edge this rumored deal walks. High risk, high reward, and that's what makes it so compelling. The NFL isn't just about what happens on the field. It's about stories, speculation, bold bets, and the endless chase for greatness. Whether this rumored $550 million extension is fact or fiction, it's already done what Washington needed most. Put the Commanders back in the spotlight. And maybe, just maybe, that's the first real win in a very long time. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.